Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Gutter boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Family life was blowing up, not enough for my cup. Trying only to hook up. Hello, baby, you know what's up. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Gutter boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Family life was blowing up, not enough for my cup. Trying only to hook up. Hello, baby, you know what's up. Ran away for college, trying to obtain that knowledge for baby boy Thomas to know himself as flawless. I was growing up in bondage, Toretic, mind unpolished, locked it up like a hostage, cause I was constantly admonished by my family, by my friends. I'm the weird kid yet again, piss me off and I demolish you. Nothing but the honest truth, it will just astonish you. Put you in a lock or two, only keep a couple few people close to me, but who? That is for me, not you, but please know that I love you too. Keep you in my heart and mind, and I will always root for you. Succeed and love your life, even get a husband, wife. Just here to make art for the soul, express my strife. But if I find a goddess, then I gotta be honest. I'll give her my entire heart, no need for being modest. All these thoughts driving through this town, it's honestly ironic. When I left at 18, said I'm never coming back, I promise. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Gutter boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Moved on back and stuck here now, hoping things unchanged, but wow, those storm leaders made a vow, then lie and steal and stay highbrow. Trying to get out the city, born up in the nitty gritty. Gutter boy was treated shitty, running, flying, need no pity. Moved on back and stuck here now, hoping things unchanged, but wow, those storm leaders made a vow, then lie and steal and stay highbrow. Panama City politicians always clown. After Hurricane Michael, they left us all to drown. 5 million stole from FEMA, yeah, they thought they'd get a crown. Good old boy syndrome is the only party in this town. Kick them out of office, tear the entire system down. Charge $500 a month or wires lay up on the ground. No power, no phone, but we paying for it anyway. Set they ass on fire, profits over people is the way. We burn them all down, take our money back, let them pray. Feed them to the fishes and the sharks up in the bay. Take this fight national, cause those phonies always stray from doing what the people want. They just look to prey on our fears and feed us lies through propaganda every day. Set us against each other so that we just fray and weaken our defenses. Yes, this is their play, so vote them out of office and please don't forget to spay.
This is Thomas Tardis reminding you to please spay and neuter your politicians by voting them out of office and petitioning for term limits in the Senate and Congress. God bless America.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, live streaming directly into your homes and phones via Facebook and the HWWS WebTV channel on YouTube. This is episode 19 of Lights, Thunder, Action. I'm Thomas Carter Rochester, a.k.a. Oh, Son of Dale.
And I'm David Thompson, a.k.a. We got a different show for you guys today. We're getting away. We're taking a bye week, as I like to call it, from the trilogy of trilogies. We're going to do Star Wars next week. We got a fun show for you guys today. Happy to be here. Thomas, how are you doing today, man? What's up?
I am spectacular.
Spectacular.
Because today I get to watch David do his thing. And I just get to sit here and look pretty and act like I know something. I'm great, man. I've spent all day working on music, one of which you just heard. I literally did that 30 minutes ago. I finished that. It's not even close to done. But, whatever. Changing things
good.
up. Tired of listening to Toilet Paper Jesus. I won't lie to you. David, how are you doing, bro?
I'm doing well, man. Working a lot. Got work early in the morning tomorrow, but I'm happy to be here. I got a few days off, Monday, Tuesday. So just got to get through. A lot of energy right now so I can relax in the next coming days. Super excited about today's show. Theaters are starting to open back up. I just canceled my AMC A-List subscription. Which was a bit of a sad moment, but now I live where there's only Regals. Literally, there's only Regals. So I hope to, hopefully sometime soon, I'll be able to get that Regal Unlimited. I'm transferring over to the Regal side of life. So yeah, I'm doing well. Hoping the theaters open, hoping the theaters open back up soon, and happy to be here for sure.
It's treason then. Yeah, David, why are we delaying this? Let's just hop right into our last bit of opening segments. What's next? Oh yeah, David, where can everyone find the audio version of this show?
Yeah, guys. So if you aren't tuning in live right now, or you can't get your video on Facebook, at our Facebook page, Lights, Thunder, Action Show, you can always find our audio version of this podcast show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and our hosting site Spreaker, and that's about it. So yeah, check out the audio podcast there. If you want to check it out when you're driving, running, doing all those sort of things, that's where you can find our audio podcast. Normally posts about 48 hours after this. Thomas, what else?
As I said at the top of the show, you can find us streaming live here on our Facebook page, Lights, Thunder, Action Show, every weekend, and also on Monday. Fun fact, spoiler.
Yes.
Spoiler? Hint, teaser, trailer, boom. That's that. You can also find us on the HWWS WebTV channel on YouTube, where we also, spoiler alert, we'll be hanging out with some of our friends from there in a couple days. Majestic tease.
Should we? I mean, tease that now, or we want to tease that later?
We'll tease now. Teasing,
right.
teasing, and teasing is over. If you are not watching and you're just listening, all I will have to say is thwip, spider thwip. That is my tease, official tease. Without further ado, this show today is not about us. Finally, I'm tired of listening to my own voice. It is actually going to be brought to you by Inked Marketing, as well as the NSC Live TV.com crew, and of course, HWWS Media Group, who allow us to hang out with them and do wonderful things. David, I want you're the professional here.
Yeah. Please
Intro what we have coming up here. I want to just say the name of this comic that we're about to be interviewing about. It's Roadkill Rampage.
Yes. So today we are bringing in the writer and illustrator, if I'm getting that correctly, for Roadkill Rampage, which is, please go to, you can just kind of Google Roadkill Rampage Kickstarter and you can back them there. So this is a new comic book coming out. You can back them there. It hasn't come out yet. We've read it. Wink, wink. But definitely check it out. We're bringing in the guys that made it. So without further ado, here is Rodney, Fyke, and Eamon. Rodney, Eamon. I can't get the name right. Oh,
you gotta think Mr.
Eamon.
Mr. Eamon.
There you go.
How we doing, guys?
We're doing well. How are y'all doing?
We're learning how to read.
Doing great. I like how Eamon's got the exclamation mark behind his name now.
I had 4. I thought it was excessive, so I trimmed it back. Thought it'd be a little more professional.
Got to play it cool, I'm excited, but not too excited. How are y'all doing today?
Great, man. How are you guys doing?
Doing wonderful. Thank you guys so much for coming on our show. We're very excited. And as David mentioned, we did get to read it. And I'm going to just tell you right now, holy fracking shirt bollocks. I didn't see this going. I read it and I was like, where is this going to go from the first page? And then it went and I was like, I'd have never guessed.
Yeah.
So I like to hear that.
So different from what stories that I think of and tell. I always go to space for some reason. So that was grounded, real world, and then it had a supernatural taste to it, and I was just like, how did we get here?
Yeah. We will preface, we are not going to spoil Roadkill Rampage in any way, because this has not been released yet. You guys, please go to the Kickstarter, Roadkill Rampage on Kickstarter.com. Please go check it out. But we have read it, so we want to kind of go around it a little bit because we know what happens. And I will say, I kind of went into this not knowing much of what I was going to getting myself into reading it. And this isn't a comic book where you're going to want to bring your kids along for the ride, where you're gathering around the fire and all reading it together. It's definitely, I think even on your Kickstarter, you label it as an adult, graphic novel comic book.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would definitely preface it with that. But as an adult, I mean, it definitely. Please go check it out. It's really good. Great job, guys. And first off, just congratulations on making it. Great job.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. So I kind of want to start off today because I'm someone who's really into comic books. Me and Thomas both, but I love knowing more about like how things are made, the behind the scenes of how stuff actually happens. And what's most impressive to me, I mean, everything is, I guess, like how stories come together. But I'm not a talented illustrator or like creative person in that sense where I'm not like an artsy person. I love to write. Like if I were to do a comic book, I know I'd want to be on the writing side of things, like the editing. But the illustration, I think, is what stuck out to me the most in this comic book. And Eamon, you're the one that kind of headed that, or did you illustrate the whole thing?
I did. Yeah, I penciled and inked. But when we first met, Rodney handed me some thumbnails, or one of the first times we met. And so I worked from the sort of roadmap that he'd given me. But as far as like full character design, stuff like that, we hashed that out together. And then I, at one point, took a couple liberties here and there. But overall, I mean, like what we talked about is basically who's on the page. And as far as like art style, early on we had discussed, because I do another comic with my wife that it's all watercolor, and I had told Rodney that I kind of wanted to keep that separate and for that book, but I was open to other ideas, and he hit me with like ink wash, and I love working in ink wash. And it just felt right for the story that we were telling to go with that classic black and white look.
Yeah, so I was wondering, like, how important do you think it is, as I think you guys both have experience making previous comic books, I assume, or at least, exactly. Yes. Making creative like stories that also have visual
Rodney
to it.
Has far more experience than I do, but yes.
Yeah. So I was kind of wondering, what's the process like so when you're writing a comic and then also illustrating it, is it you write it first, then illustrate? Or is it, hey, I've been doodling, this looks really cool, can we make this into the story? Like, how does that process go? And how important do both of you think it is to have both kind of go together? Because I think most comic books, when they're at their best, the words and the image on the page feel so connected, where like the tone is like, that's where you have to really nail. And this comic book really nails like the tone of both. Seem like they gel together well. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, Rodney, if you want to take the story side and talk about the germination of that.
Yeah, I think that it a little bit of everything. It's never one or the other, Ideally, that would be nice. But when I start writing, the images and stuff, I don't write it; it comes to me. Just the images are so vivid in my head. And I have a part-time day job where I drive, and I'm driving anywhere from 100 to 600 miles a day. So my voice recorder on my phone is my best friend. And that's actually where this story came from. I was in Columbus, Ohio, stuck in construction traffic, and doing about 5 miles an hour down the highway, and I saw this dead baby raccoon on the side of the road. And as I pulled up alongside of it, his hand was outstretched and his fur was just gently blowing in the wind. And as I got around to him and could see his face, he just had such a serene look on his face. It was just a little baby. And I thought to myself, where was he going? Who's going to miss him? Who's waiting on him? So my mind just started racing with all these ideas. So I reached over and grabbed my cell phone and just started talking into it. And 25 minutes later, I had this book.
Wow.
Wow.
That's crazy.
25
so how long
minutes.
Ago, yeah, that's unreal. How long ago was that? That was one of my big questions, is like, from that moment until now, how long has it been to really create this thing?
Well, I was going back today, look at some of my older notes, and April of 17 was the earliest notes I could find. Yeah, because we had initially slated another person to do the artwork for us, but he had more of a cartoony feel, and it just wasn't right. Eamon and I met about a year later, and then I'll let you tell that story.
Oh yeah, no. So Rodney and I are part of a sort of a collective of creators in Cincinnati, and we all get together and meet up. And both him and his wife had been incredibly helpful to my wife and I when we were starting out with our book. We had all sorts of grandiose plans, and they were like, "You guys need to tone it down. You need to bring it in and like focus on producing one thing." Yeah. And so we started forming sort of like a side, I don't want to say a side group because that group is giant and encompasses everyone. But every time that we got together, we would just be like, "Oh, here's this thing I'm doing. Like, what do you think? How do you feel this reads?" And then eventually Rodney was like, "Well, how would you feel about doing a book?" And at first I was like, I mean, you've read my other comic. I don't really do like kids stuff. So I mean, like, I'm happy to work with you. Yeah. And Rodney was like, "No, not kid stuff. Like, I want to do a horror book. I want to use muscle cars. I want roadkill." And I was like, "Okay, tell me more." And we just started diving in, and he pitched me at a meeting, and I just immediately was like, I have to do this book. Like, I absolutely have to be a part of this.
Yeah, I was gonna say totally not a kid's book.
No.
And that's it. It's fascinating to me, like, as someone who's read comics for the vast majority of my life, and I mean, mostly big names like Marvel, DC, and a lot of color, a lot of like cartoony. I think kind of like is that perfect word that you said, and this is very not cartoony. And I think, what was the method you said with like the ink, how it's black and white?
Yeah, so it's an ink wash. I literally just create gradations of black ink and wash them in and sort of build layers from there.
Wow. Yeah, and you can really see it, like looking at the the page. Like, you can really tell that's how it looks. It's a cool design. I think that's where, I mean, to me, I feel like that's where sometimes in these larger, like, mass, these sort of like mass pushed out like big brands, and like when there's like thousands of them being made, and like I feel like there's almost more of a rush to it, where the art doesn't seem as, almost more like computerized in a way. And I don't know if it is, but yeah.
And it's interesting because there's like each of the big two right now sort of have a house style. And it's very clean, and it's very like, if you look at it, you're like, yeah, that's a Marvel book, yeah, that's a DC book. But if there's one thing that all of this sort of stuff is, the situation we find ourselves in that I will not talk about, has brought about, it's them trying out some of these other dudes, some of these indie guys with unique style. So you're going to see a little bit more of the off the cuff, like underground feel to a lot of books coming out from those guys. But that's the stuff I fell in love with. So back in the day, like underground comics of the 80s and 90s, like I'm a kid that was the perfect age for Ninja Turtles to hit, both in the book and then the cartoon and then the movie. And like that opened my way to what comic book art could be. You didn't have to work for some giant publisher. You didn't have to produce characters that you hadn't thought of yourself, because Ninja Turtles exists, and that was 100% independent, and those dudes are millionaires now because of it. Right. So that little seed planted in my mind all those years ago is the reason that I kept my style to a certain feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
And part of that is the traditional nature of my work. I don't do a lot of digital, although there's going to be people that crucify me for this, but like I am switching over a little bit more because it's not conducive to a timely workflow to do solidly traditional medium. But if I have my druthers, brush, pen, ink, pencil, that's where I live.
Yeah, gotcha. So Rodney, do you do both writing and illustration? I guess for both of you. Like, is it? I know on this book, Rodney, you were the main writer, and Eamon, you were the illustrator. But is that like you both of your cream? Like is that what you guys both always do, or is there a back and forth to it? Like, do you dabble in both?
I do both. I have several other books that were the cute cartoony all ages books Peanut Pudding and Jelly and Pitter Patter. And I did those for a few years. And as much as I enjoy them, I wanted to, those are a hard sell to a broader audience. And I was really itching to do something more adult themed. And I've always wanted to do a horror comic because I'm a big fan of Marvel's Tomb of Dracula and all the old EC titles and Bernie Wrightson and Jack Davis artwork, all the old classic illustrators, and which is what, Eamon is to me.
Thank you.
I just, yes, that is a very high compliment. But I know that I couldn't pull off in this story what Eamon does. I have one of two styles. I have hyper detailed illustration, photorealistic style, or I have cartoony Michael Golden, Umberto Ramos type artwork.
Okay, yeah.
I've been doing both for probably the last 10, 11 years, and I'm really itching the writing bug has hit me, and I want to get more product out. And I know if I just concentrate on writing certain books and having other people do the artwork, we can get more books on the table.
Right.
And I'm the collaborative effort, especially with Eamon, has just been outstanding. We mesh so well. We have the same sense and sensibilities about storytelling, and our influences are a lot the same. So it's just worked out. Knock on wood.
Yeah. The Kickstarter's doing great according to my computer. So congrats on that. And
thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, we funded in 44 hours, which completely blew our doors off. We had no idea.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. And
we're very happy about that.
Also, Thomas, if you ever want to butt in, please do. You're
okay.
Most quiet I've ever seen you my entire life.
I feel so weird, honestly. But I do have some questions. Well, how did you get your start in comics? Like, what is your origin story from fan to creator?
Are you asking me or Eamon?
Yes.
Okay. I've been reading comics since I was 4 years old. And I got my start in '89. Me and my friends from high school put together a black and white superhero book. Very much influenced by the Turtles, and it's called The Superior Seven, and we did 5 issues of that, and that ran its course and had a decent level of success for a black and white independent superhero book. And then we started coloring comics for other people, and that was more lucrative, and I did that for about 7 or 8 years until all the kids had their computers in their bedrooms and could do it themselves, and the page rates dropped, and it just wasn't economically feasible to continue doing it. And then I went and got the dreaded day job and did that until I blew my back out in 2008, which was kind of a blessing in disguise because when I was bedridden and couldn't do anything, I started drawing again. And that's when I met my wife, and I would be telling her tales of the good old days back in the 90s. And she's like, well, why don't you start again? So we started. We spent a year going to the shows and doing recon, and because I knew everything, but everything that I knew was from back in the 90s. And it was 2008, 2009. Everything was completely different. For one, there's this big thing called the internet now that we didn't have back then. So that was a huge game changer. Printing in color is possible now, where back then there was just no way. You just couldn't afford it. Photoshop was $8,000-9,000 back then. So I mean, now the kids don't know how good they have it these days.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that's my tale, my journey. So I've been in and out of the comics business for the better part of 30 years. Independent comic business, I should say.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Eamon, what about you?
My origin is not as prolific, at least finished work wise. I've loved comics my entire life. One of the key defining moments, I was at a comic book shop and in Boston on a family trip, and I opened up. I was probably, I'm guessing, Len Wein and Bernie Swamp Thing issue, and there was a dude that was getting decapitated, and I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And my mom saw me looking at it and snatched it up immediately and shut that book. And from that moment on, that was the bit that set it off. I just knew. I was like, I need to be a part of this. Like, I have to be doing things like this. If my mom thinks it's bad enough that I can't look at it, it's probably awesome. And so from then every single day of my life I've just drawn. And, as soon as I could hold a pencil. And I started writing comics when I was super little, and always had sort of some collaboration that never worked out, and they'd always get shelved and pitched until I met my wife, and I was going through the usual, like, oh man, I wish I could, make this comic. I love comics. I wish, and she's like, just do it. Just stop talking about it and do it. And I was like, yeah, but where are we going to sell it? And she's like, well, I signed us up for Cincy Comic Expo, so you should probably get started on that. And we can finish it. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was it. She pulled the trigger for me, and we just, took off from there. And it has resulted in two of my favorite collaborations that I've ever been involved in. Working with my wife as a writer and working with Rodney as a writer. And it's just, and they're two entirely different processes, but they work with what I do, which is surprising, because I've had countless collaborations that never went anywhere, because eventually it comes down to someone else wanting you to take over the lion's share and just do most of the book. And I don't feel that with Rodney, and I don't feel that with my wife. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, and that was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. But yeah.
So I have a question. What do you guys think about, when you guys are going through and writing, and like you're saying, Rodney, you're like taking all the voice recordings and getting all that stuff, how much of it ends up on the cutting room floor, or even just the drawings and the illustrations? Because it seems like even the writing in at least this comic book, it's the meat of it. We're not getting a lot of exposition in this book. We're not getting a lot, at some comics where it's like, there's just a lot of reading, like more than like others, obviously, where it's like, is this a comic book or is this an actual book? Where am I right now? But
it's funny that you say that, because I'm actually working with a real life flesh and blood editor for the first time ever.
Yeah,
and she made me trim down a lot of the stuff. It was wordy. Yeah. So I trimmed it down and resubmitted the script, and she's like, okay, much better, but there's a couple spots here. We went back and we retrimmed that down, and Eamon and I got together and we added an additional page. And so about there's so much in my head that you can't put it all in there. You have to pick and choose, and letting the artwork breathe, is an important thing. So that's the big lesson that I've learned working with an editor for the first time on this issue. And Eamon read the original script, so he knows the difference between that and what it is now. And
is the script all just, the words you actually want to see in text in the book, or is some of the script what we want to see in the visuals? You know what I mean? Where it's not just, you're not just writing all the dialogue and the actual like narration or exposition of the book, but you're also writing, hey, I want to see that. Because especially this comic book and a lot of comic books, that's why they're graphic novels, because they're graphic, and the story is told kind of 50-50 through the word and through the image. So when you're writing, is it all just actually like the words you want to put in the book, or is it some of it just, hey, I want to see this here, or I want this to be shown here? How does that go?
Again, it's a little bit of both. Sometimes the exact words come to my mind and they end up in the book. Other times it's 2-3 paragraphs worth of information, and that gets siphoned out and whittled down to a line or two, the most important points, and that's what we'll see print.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, it's about letting the artwork, don't suffocate the artwork with the words, because the artwork is so beautiful, and Eamon did such a amazing job with the pace and the flow and everything with the artwork that we made a comp copy, and we took it to our Cincinnati comic creators meetup, and we passed it around. There's probably 16 or 17 people there, and it was just the artwork. And people, were you there that night, Eamon, when we did that?
No, I missed that night.
People flipped through it, and you could just see their faces, because at that point they knew me for Peanut Pudding and Jelly and Pitter Patter. They had no idea the darkness that was within me.
Yeah, right.
So they were flipping through, and they were like, "Wow." And they'd look at me and they'd say, "This is really good. We don't even need the words. The story tells itself through the art." And I'm like, "Thank you." So,
that's
but
totally
I need the words, Rodney.
Yes, Eamon needs the words.
That's totally how this book goes. Like, it is a lot of like the visuals really do tell the story, and it's interesting to me because I feel like, I mean, I was a journalism major, so I am a writer at heart, and I do like to creatively write, but that's not like my main go-to. But it is something that I really enjoy, and it's funny whenever I have, like, my whole life, I've always like, I've never been good at drawing, but I've always like drawn these little things. I made these little stories and wrote them down, and typical stuff, I'm sure, for everyone on this chat right now. Right. And so it's just funny to me because I relate to that so much as someone who I guess is a writer, where it's like getting edited and having to trim it down because there's always more that you want to say and that you think is important. And sometimes I think it's hard to be told by someone else that, hey, that you think in your head is really important isn't as important as maybe you thought it was. And I'm just curious, like, is that process difficult? Was it difficult here, or was it just, hey, you're right? Or how did that go?
It's difficult, but me being around as long as I've been around and realizing we've got a really good team right now with myself and my wife and Eamon and his wife and our letterer, graphic designer. It's a really strong team. So neither one of us there's not a hill that either one of us are willing to die on. We both are very, very accommodating to one another, because does it really matter? A perfect case in point is the initial concept for me of Tess. She was a brunette. And when Eamon started doing the artwork, he made her a blonde. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Now, 25 years ago, I would have kicked rocks and chewed nails.
Right.
Because I was, in my 20s, and I was stupid.
Yeah.
But getting the best possible product. And one of the things that I learned from Jim Shooter, the longtime editor-in-chief at Marvel Comics, was, I know you've got America's best novel that you want to put out, but you'll never put that out. Get what you've got, whittle it down to something cohesive that tells the story that you want to tell, and get it done so you can start on the next one.
Yeah.
And that's always stuck with me. Now sticking in all the words and stuff, additional words and stuff, that I'm still a little guilty of that. My wife Tina always says too much, whittle it down. Because I tend to fall back into my Stan Lee tropes, where I use all the big words and try to make ponderous Peter Parker, and all that kind of stuff, which I enjoyed because that's what I grew up on.
Right.
But she's like, people aren't going to get that sense of humor. Just tell the story and let that be enough.
I'll get it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I love your flip in the episode. That was awesome. flip.
So, Eamon, how much did you're communicating with Rodney, he's kind of telling you his story, his idea, for the most part, from what I'm gathering, and you're the one kind of visualizing it, making it, making Tessa blonde, for instance. How much liberty did you feel you had, and how much was it, hey, do you like this? What should I change? Like, was there any of that kind of back and forth, like, check this out, oh, change this, change that? Like, how'd that go?
So there's a bit of it. I always try to be open to that stuff as far as like, can we do this and can we do that? But it's like that's the images that I choose and the framing that I choose and the pace that I put is all purposeful. So if it's something that genuinely does not read and does not come across, because we can all get caught up in our own minds with it. It's super easy. It's just, it's your work and you're putting your soul into this. And when someone comes back and they're like, hey, this doesn't make sense, there is that tiny voice in the back of your head that wants to be like, no, yeah, it does. It makes total sense. You know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about?
But if you can kill that voice, your work improves like 100% right away. Like if you can get rid of that defensiveness and just hear them out, you're going to produce a better product. So that being said, I would approach Rodney with, hey, I'm thinking this instead. But sometimes it pulled the tattooer trick on him, and I would just present what I'd drawn and be like, here's the page.
Right.
And that was sort of the blonde with Tess, because with Ace, he's set in darkness, and I dropped him into shadow. There's times that like you can't even see his nose, you just see his eyes and the shadow in his hair, and I needed for her to be the opposite of that, but have elements too, which is why she's wearing that baseball shirt. She's got the sleeves that are dark, and then the front it's just sort of mirroring. And I tried to echo these bits throughout the entire book of the interplay of shadow and light. There's a page at the end that I won't describe, but that is entirely just shadow and light.
Yes.
And that was sort of the culmination of all of these little interplays throughout, to be like, here it is in this moment. Here is our light and here is our darkness, and this is what has happened.
I will say I love the way Ace was drawn. Like it was just such a cool, like just visual, and exactly the darkness. And I love when you give like the reader a little bit to kind of imagine themselves, which isn't how it always is, but in that case it kind of was, especially I think even black and white. Thomas,
are you saying that you identified with Ace?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what that sentence meant. Sorry, I was like, David, you got some anger problems, Chief?
No, I didn't identify with. I was just saying that, like, actually visually, where you're not getting almost 100% of like the I don't know, the light visual, the detail almost. You're getting that darkness. You're seeing the shadows, and it almost. I mean, it's not hyper realistic illustration, but it makes it feel a little more realistic in the sense that you don't have to see every part of his ears and nose and all those certain things. So are you guys looking for? Are you guys gonna be working on new? Is this it? Is this the end? Or oh,
I got it right here. Number 2. Rodney and I just met last week, and he handed me over the thumbnails and the script, and I am currently going through and writing down what I need to write, and then I'm gonna start drawing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm on the script for issue 3.
Wow. Okay. So I've got a quick question. Like, how do I finesse this question without spoilers?
Oh boy.
Where can you tease where issue 1 goes from, let's just say, an emotional perspective, and then where 2 and 3 are going to go in terms of the emotion and tone?
Or at least 2, I guess, because if you're still working on the script for 3.
It is a journey of I don't want to say it's a hero's journey, but it's an awakening journey. A coming of age journey.
Yeah.
And realizing one's self-value, one's full potential, and all the things that have to go through to realize that. As everybody on this panel knows, you have ups and downs through the course of your life, and the downs probably influence you and strengthen you more than the ups.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do with the additional issues coming up, and it keeps growing. So it's supposed to be a 4-issue miniseries.
Okay.
But I was on a podcast Tuesday night, and he did a drawing of Ace for me, and my mind has just been going crazy ever since. As a matter of fact, last night I could not sleep because this scene kept playing out in my head. And I got to tell you about it, Eamon. So you're gonna die, but yeah. So it just keeps growing and building, and so. But
so yeah,
Forest Shoe miniseries.
if we want to talk in vague terms about feeling and not spoiling anything, issue 1. I mean, as a person that sat down and read it, and as a person that is sitting down and reading issue 2, issue 1 is the awakening, as Rodney had said, and issue 2 is a test. You have your first, like, that test of your character. So no spoilers, nothing out there, but that's what we got.
That was such a good tease. Holy crap. I've got a question. You were talking about you can't sleep because you had this scene playing out through your mind. And as I was listening to Eamon answer a question or two ago, I'm a filmmaker. I'm more of an actor, but I've been dabbling in writing and directing here and there just because somebody has to make stuff for me. And when it comes to it's a 2-part question, one for Eamon, one for Rodney. When it comes to the creation of the story from the onset, do you think I use the word cinematography, like, do you picture exactly what's happening?
I do, yes, absolutely. And especially with this book. This book is so, and I had a podcaster ask me that same question, and 1,000% with this book is a movie in my head.
Yeah.
And I studied cinematography a lot. When I was in college, I was in college for animation and commercial art, but I met some friends that went on to do documentary films, stuff like that, and they were cinematography nuts, and they taught me the ins and outs of it. And I generally think in terms of I'm setting up my camera shots, setting up the lighting and stuff in my head. And that usually translates to the thumbnails. Eamon, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm totally.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I just jumped in there. Even to the point that when we sat down and you pitched me, it very much felt like a trailer. What you were describing, because you would say, "Okay, we're going to be looking at this long shot. Where think of this," and then the framing of the image that he had mentioned, and it is like when I flip through the thumbnails, I'm like, I get what is needed of me, and it's the story is there and it flows. I think the only time that we ever change anything is if it's for like a dramatic page turn. But otherwise, like, what you see in the book is because Rodney has described it cinematically to me. And so I can take that, feed that image to my mind, sit on it, come back and draw the whole thing, and it turns out how it turns out.
That's awesome, because when I was reading it, there were certain things and I'm like, oh, look at that Rembrandt lighting on his face, that's perfect. And then I flipped the page and I was like, oh, they completely put him in shadow except his eyes. That I see that in motion, like just from the passing lights of another vehicle, and I was like, ooh. Of course, he kind of looks like me, so that was kind of cool. Long hair, hippie type.
Yeah, it's funny. In another lifetime, I would have loved to have been a director, because I love to write. And, I see it also vividly in my head. So,
yeah, well, and never too late.
It 100%. The parallels between cinema and comic book art are, I don't know. It's just there's so many of them. I will say, and I meant to bring this up earlier. One of the things that drew me to comics is it's so uniquely its own art form.
Yeah,
it borrows from literature and it borrows from art, but it puts them together, and there's nothing else that has the benefit of the written word and the image of the scene playing out before you. Like, It's the equivalent of sort of having a character that would give you director's commentary over the entire film, but from their perspective. And I don't know, that's one of the things that I've just always loved. It's so uniquely comic book, and it's not shared in other.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're reading a storybook, it's not the same way because the story is written, the picture's above, it's sitting there. The words and the images play off of each other. The placement of dialogue balloons, the placement of sound effects, everything that is used to draw your eye through the page.
Yeah.
It is all interconnected. And so having an understanding of cinematography, having an understanding of what is visually pleasing is almost a necessity if you're going to be, tackling something like this.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that, like, oh, I could go out and, be a cinematographer. That's not it at all. It's just that I appreciate and I can understand the framing and the visual sense that they're producing.
Yeah, it's funny. When I read comics, a lot of the times I've always done this is I'll like kind of blow through it. If it's more of a quick read, if it's like one issue, that's like not too long and doesn't have a ton of like text, I'll like blow through it, read it as fast as I possibly can, pretty much. And then I'll go back and then like stare at the pictures for like an hour, and then like, I know what happened. I know everything what happened. And now I can really like almost enjoy it. And I don't know if anyone else like does it like that, but that's how I always read.
Oh, yeah. That's 100% how I read comic books.
Yeah. Because there's part of me where it's like, I want to know what happens. I want to know the story, but then I also want to go back and appreciate the art, because so many times it's like, when I do the book an injustice when I just blow through it and if I just keep going, because it's like, how much time did someone spend making these little details in this little tiny square, and part of it is because I enjoy doing it that way, and also part of me is like, I really want to appreciate this artwork, because like you said, it is a mixture of text and art. And I mean, there is something like, it is very unique, because when you're reading a book, just like a novel of any kind, that people like that because you make the images, like that's kind of the big thing with reading like a fictional or non-fictional for the most part, but especially a fictional, novel, is that people like to, make their own images in their head. And that's why you see a lot of people when someone makes a movie about a book, it's like, that's not how they're supposed to be. So that's what's kind of cool about comics. And especially we see it now with all these huge, massive comic book movies. Like you see, I mean, it's been so cool. I mean, especially in recent like 10 years, just seeing comic books just pop off on an actual screen, which is definitely unique. I think one thing we'll be watching into the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soon on this page, and like doing a little watch along, and that is just literally a comic book on a screen.
It is,
and it's just
one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. And I don't know if anyone is in charge is listening, but that's how you should do the Fantastic Four film, because then you can use Fing Fan Foom and no one's gonna question it at all. You can have a giant dragon and purple shorts and it's fine. Do it that way. It's so good. It's just so comic book, and it is so pitch perfect in tone, visual style, feeling of character, vocal work. I look forward to more of that.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a wonderful segue, David, because my question that I was going to ask next is, what is your favorite comic book movie of all time for both of you? I know that's tough. Do you need some time?
So many books have been remade. Yeah.
I got one that is from day one, my favorite, and that is the original Superman movie with Christopher Reeve.
Okay, yeah, that's where you're going.
That is, and it's actually so. Thomas, I used to be a stage actor, and the reason that I wanted to act was because when I was a little kid, my mom explained to me that Christopher Reeves was a regular dude that got paid to pretend to be Superman. And the idea was like, it blew my mind. Like I loved that. So, it's got to be, he's the best Clark. He's the best Superman. He's just pitch perfect in that.
It's a really good choice. It's a really good choice.
That is a super solid choice right there. Rodney, what about you?
I'm gonna have to say, and there's so many to choose from. My initial thought was 300, but I think the first Iron Man, nothing has duplicated how I felt in the movie theaters when sitting there watching it. I felt like I was 10 years old again.
Yeah.
It was
I haven't
special.
felt like that since I sat and watched Return of the Jedi in the movie theaters in
Right.
83. So that brought validation to all of us geeks and nerds and made comic books legit in the eyes of the mainstream. It put Hollywood on notice that they're quality stories. It brought in quality actors and directors, and it was the beginning of everything that we have now. And it was just I love it.
And it made it cool.
Yeah.
You know, where
Absolutely.
that was kind of a big part, where it was Iron Man, it was Robert Downey Jr., it was this really, it wasn't, I don't know, it was such a cool story. Like, he's just a cool character, this whole thing, that he's this, billionaire playboy philanthropist. So that's his whole thing. And that's also an excellent choice. And it started the whole MCU.
I was gonna say, if that one was such a gamble, because if that had failed, none of the past 15 years of movies would have come about. It's insane how much that was the linchpin in the entire process. The success of that is why we can go and see one every single year.
Right.
Before that,
you're absolutely right. And to think about the gamble that they took with Robert Downey Jr. Just coming out of jail and with all his past problems and stuff. But if you knew Robert Downey Jr.'s work and were familiar with his talent, you knew it was the perfect choice. Absolutely. And then they, by the way, Jon Favreau's going to direct it, and you've seen Swingers and anything else he's done, you knew then that it was going to be a hit.
Yeah.
So,
and what's crazy about that, when you bring up Robert Downey Jr., is that, like we were saying earlier, when you're, visualizing, when you're thinking about these comic book stories and you're seeing everything vividly and you see the characters and you picture them, I feel like when you said Iron Man, what I thought of was, it's because he is literally perfect for the role. Like, that's what you see when you think of the character of Iron Man. That's the charisma. That's the, physicality, personality. And I think that's,
the damage. The damage of Tony Stark. Tony Stark is a flawed, damaged character, as is Robert Downey Jr. as a person, So it's just the perfect marriage of fact and fiction.
Excellent point. It's so true. And I think that's where I agree. Like, Iron Man's a great movie. And I think that's where I think most movies just in general is the characters and the actors that portray them. That's where movies, I think, to me, go from good to great, is when the characters perfectly fit the role. They know it. They believe in it. You can tell it's it fits them perfectly. And it's the same in comics, where you're reading it, and we've been saying this whole time, when the words meld with the image and it all makes sense. And it's not like Roadkill Rampage isn't vividly bright and curved and pristinely digital, and it shouldn't be. That's the point, I feel like. I don't know. I'm not the one that wrote it, but it seems like that's kind of the point. Anyway.
Yeah, it's great.
It's gritty, and it's got interplay. Just to bring it back real quick to reading through comics again, David.
Yeah.
A challenge for you next time you pick up a book. Do the quick read, do the scan of the art, and then go back and pay attention to the lettering and the interplay and the breaking of borders and how that guides your eye. Because, man, does that make a difference. Our letterer on Roadkill, Dave Lentz, man, I don't know. He just gets it. He gets it. I just had him letter a 2-page thing for me that I did as a commission, and I gave him complete carte blanche. I was like, hey, you know what this is supposed to be. Do your thing. And he sent it back to me in 2 hours, and it was perfect. So, yeah. Give it, when you're reading next time, look at that stuff. Look at the layout. Look at the design. It's an unsung art, and it is really good.
And to add to that, I will challenge you to pick 2 completely different letterers.
Yes.
And do that and see the varying styles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is true. I mean, I have noticed that a bit, but it is something where that's like, I think, the most underrated or just the most subtle part of a comic and the visual storytelling. Because you don't think about, like you just said, you're challenging me to it because I don't think about where the lettering is. Because I just read it and I look at the picture and then I keep going. You don't sit there and think about where they put that,
But if the lettering is bad,
you'll notice.
Yeah.
It totally ruins everything.
Mm-hmm.
That is very true. I read it was a Star Wars comic a couple years ago. I forget what run it was, but I remember thinking, like, where am I going? I don't know who the letterer was. And it's a Marvel comic, and I mean that's a big thing. And I'm just like, I remember thinking, I got through it and everything, but it was like that was all over it was a lot of words and a lot of almost like a bunch of small bubbles, where it's like, all right, let's go.
You get caught in a loop. I've done that before where I'm reading a page and I'm like, why did my eye just go back up to the first panel? This is interrupting the flow. Like,
it's really impressive when you never have to think about, I mean, when you read a lot of comics, you get used to it, but especially when someone who doesn't read comics and you first pick up a book, sometimes they do get kind of lost. All right. Cause you're so used to reading a normal book or just looking at pictures where it's like, where am I supposed to go now? Because sometimes it is just up to down. And then, because there is, people take creative liberties a lot of the time and try to kind of do different stuff, which can be really cool. But also for someone who, if someone's just first picking up a book, it can get really confusing really quickly. And
absolutely.
Get turned off by it.
That was one of the, like, there are books from the 90s that Image put out that I cannot read.
Yeah.
Just because, and all the accolades to them for trying to change the form in the way that they were, but you get circular pages that have like 100 panels on the outside, and you're like, how do I read this page?
Right.
But you also have dudes that, like Mike Allred, his run on Silver Surfer, they did an issue that's a Mobius strip. Like,
what?
It's mind blowing. Like, it's insane. And that is like, sometimes you just stick the landing and you're just, and it's just art from top to bottom. And sometimes it's a jumbled mess, and that's why you have editors, right?
Right.
or people that are like, hey man, that's not it. Don't, this does not make sense here.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. Like,
this time concentrate.
Try harder.
Yeah, like if you want to see someone that has mastered that craft, take a look at Old Spirit books, Contract with God from Will Eisner, and oh my God, that man understood language. He understood the interplay of words and pictures, how words can be the background for panels. Like, he's a master, and check it out. There's a reason there's an award named after him.
Right.
Yes.
And we did have a question here before I know we got to go. We got to kind of wrap up soon. We did have a question from the audience.
That's right where I was going, David. To wrap us up, we'll go to our audience question. This is from our friend Alfred Pennyworth. That's not his real name, but Safety First on Facebook. I'm a first-time comic book creator, and the book has come to a halt due to lack of finances. How are you overcoming that in this quarantine situation?
Kickstarter.
Well, yeah. Crowdfunding is your friend, man. There's a lot of different platforms for it. The other part of it is, and it's not fun to talk about, but sometimes you just have to do the work and then try to find the financing afterwards.
Yeah.
The best way to get financing for your book is going to be to complete the project you're working on. Now, if you're working with a hired artist, I can understand that's a little more difficult. But if you're tackling everything as a first-time creator, if you are illustrating as well as writing, you just got to do it. Yeah. And then on the end, try to use that to get your funding to get it published. I got a buddy that Xeroxes, and he makes really rad comic books. do a mini comic, use that to help build interest, to garner some sort of attention. But it's tough. I get it, man. Like I'm an independent contractor. I tattoo and I illustrate comics, and people don't always have money to spend. You just got to make them want to spend the money.
Yeah. And if you're doing the artwork yourself, Alfred, I'll echo what Eamon said. Concentrate on getting the product done first, and worry about the money part later. Because if you have something tangible to show people the vision of your dream, you're more apt to get people to jump on board with you. So do it. Don't just talk about it. Do it, and you'll find that the time will open up doors for you.
Yeah.
It's and that's the thing. It's like it's a hell of a time to be making this, man.
Yeah, I did have
there's no conventions to back that end of it.
Yeah.
So I honestly, man, I would say take what you've got. If you have something marketable, finish it if you can. If you're at a standstill because you don't have the funds to pay your artist, I would say run a small Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Keep it to what you need to get them to finish their project portion. And once that's done, I bet you'll find that it's a way easier prospect to produce and publish with a finished product.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you can drum up interest, whatever you can do on your end that's not going to cost you money creatively, do it. It's hard work. No one likes to talk about that, but it's a grind. But you love it, right, Alfred? I mean, that's what you're in it for. You love this. You love making comics. It's gonna be worth it. Just stick with it.
Yeah.
I know we got to go, but bouncing off that, one more final quick question: did quarantine, did it change any strategy you guys had with Roadkill Rampage? This is probably the most obvious question we've had this whole time, but how has this time in 2020 affected this book you guys been working on?
Actually, we've ramped up since the quarantine.
Yeah.
We've become more productive, and we've become visible online, whereas before we weren't. Hazzum.com now has a functioning website, a competent website. There's a store on there. You can go get the books. We do live draws on Thursday nights and Friday nights.
Awesome.
We bring in guests to hang out with us and talk. It's forced us to be more active on social media, and the online presence, and it's been huge because the pandemic's going on, and we did a Kickstarter.
Right.
Normally we'd be going to shows on the weekends, but now we're pushing Kickstarters, and we're knee deep into issue 2 and issue 3. So and I'm also writing the script for another issue, and Eamon's working on other stuff. So it's like you said, it's a grind. But it's a grind of passion because we love what we do.
It's a grind, and it's fantastic at the same time. If you think about, so here's a positive way that it has affected this. I mean, aside from us producing more and getting online, Marvel and DC at a certain point when this started, they were like, "Hey, dudes, put that pencil down. We're done. We're not making books right now."
Yeah.
We didn't do that. So there's shelf space, and we're gonna fight for it, man.
Right.
That's the best thing you can do. Is so this little box that I'm sitting in right now is both the most confining and expansive box that you could possibly be put in. So everyone is doing this right now. Everyone lives in this world, so it's an even playing field in that aspect. It means that there's people that are looking for more content online. They're going to find something to watch. It might as well be you drawing, talking, producing, doing a podcast. If you create something, people will consume it. There's an audience for your work.
Right.
If you make it, they will come.
There you go. Field of dreams.
So Well, we're gonna go ahead and let you guys get to your evening, but beforehand, can you tell everyone where to find you on social media?
Okay. Eamon, you go first.
All right. It's at Pigbone Comics on Instagram, at Eamon Hill Tattoos on Instagram. I'm currently taking a break from Facebook, but you can get a hold of me there and grab our books at Hazzum.com.
Okay. And for me, it's Hazzum.com is the website. And you can find me at the Art of Rodney Fyke on Facebook and Rodney_Fyke on Instagram and Rodney Fyke Art on Twitch. And we do Thursday night throwdown, Eastern Standard Time, 8 o'clock on Thursday nights. Sean Forney, another illustrator, and I do it. And then Friday nights, we do a Friday night draw on his channel, Sean Forney Illustration. And we usually run about 2.5 hours. And we live draw and chat all things nerdy like we're doing here.
Very cool. I'm adding all you guys right now. And then
I'm going to watch you guys watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse too.
Yeah.
I'm jazzed about that.
Yep. That'll be Monday night, 7 o'clock.
Sweet.
Square.
Yeah.
That'll be super exciting. So, and obviously it's great to get your social media, but also everyone please head over to Kickstarter.com, Roadkill Rampage. Get excited. Yes. When is the book going to be sent out? When is it going to be released to the public?
It is completely done. So when the Kickstarter is done, we are going to send the book to the printer, get it printed, and we're going to be sending everything out. So awesome. It is absolutely 100% done.
Very cool. Thank you guys so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on the book. Yes. Me and Thomas really enjoyed it. It was definitely something that I wasn't expecting, because I wasn't expecting an adult book that was that harsh and gritty. But when I first hear comic book, that's not what I'm thinking. And I thought that was, that
was the best part to me.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the artwork. Especially Eamon, like that. I really enjoyed that. It was unique. It was different than what I'm normally reading, like we've talked about through this whole, interview. So, congratulations, guys! Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Really appreciate it.
Rad.
A lot of fun.
See you both soon.
Absolutely. Yes, I'll see you Monday night.
Monday night. Thank you, fellas.
Take care, guys.
And that was fun, David. That was Rodney Fyke and Eamon Hill. And I just want to, really quick, this is the cover of issue number 1. And this is what was sent to me. And they were like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "Yes, I want to read that. I want to interview you guys." Just based off of this alone, I was like, "You sold me at crazy guy and car." So it was it was a very good read. And we forgot to tell them they are our first guests ever. And how can we forget that?
It's all right. Maybe they're listening now. Absolutely. Great guys. So enjoyable to have them on. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yes.
Such a cool look into the process of making comic book, especially as not these major comic book DC, Marvel, like independent workers, like something that you could really get your hands on and really relate to and stuff like that. So super cool. But hey guys, it's still us. It's still Lights Thunder Action. We're still going to get to the news. Things
are still happening.
Yeah. So that was fun. Thank you guys for still being here. We're going to jump into, what is it, Thomas? What's this segment?
The trilogy of. That's wrong. Sorry, everyone. It's been a long. The Tournament of Trilogies update. Now, as you all may remember, last week, because we decided to take a bye week this week, which, we might as well just give you a little bit of behind the scenes. We're thinking of doing this bye week after every trilogy. So then we have 6 trilogies going on, and we'll sprinkle in the more interviews on these bye weeks. So that way we're kind of being diverse for all of you and for us, because if we do the same thing for more than 5 shows in a row, we get bored. Okay, I get bored. I don't know about David.
Yeah. Well, let us know if you guys like that, because if that's what you guys want to see, that's what we'll do, because we think that, just after that interview, that was really fun. It was a good change of pace from just the, tournament, what the news trilogy, which is still very fun, and we still enjoy, and very thankful for everyone joining us every week. But that was definitely fun. fun way to kind of split up our trilogies because they keep coming. And we've got an update on the polls this week because we've got some voting.
Voting has happened. If you recall, last week we had 6 trilogies, and it was John Wick versus Sam Raimi's Spider-Man in one battle, and Toy Story versus Godfather in another battle. And ladies and gentlemen, John Wick and The Godfather knocked out the children's stories. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to actually remove this. I'm gonna bring up right off the bat statistics, baby. We got statistics this week, and I learned how to zoom in, so that's awesome. John Wick beat Spider-Man, by 25 votes. I'm really bad at math right now. It had 70 votes to Spider-Man's 45. And then Godfather had 97 votes. 97 votes. In its first appearance, it has had the 4th highest collection of a single trilogy getting a vote in 1 week. And that is behind Star Wars twice and Jurassic Park, who had 98. Toy Story, if you remember last week, I said that if Toy Story does not amass at least 40 votes, it will be removed from the trilogy for a few weeks. Baby, it got 85 votes, so it has not only surpassed it, but it is here to stay. What I'm very excited for is because John Wick versus Jurassic Park and Godfather versus Indiana Jones, to me, it's old school gangster movie of Godfather versus old school Steven Spielberg trilogy of Indiana Jones. And then you have new school mobster / hitman style stuff with John Wick versus a new school Steven Spielberg-esque trilogy, because he didn't film all 3. He wasn't involved with all 3, I don't believe, as director, but he was involved with it. So that's a fun fun situation we got coming up. And this week, I didn't mention, this week's vote is already live. John Wick versus Jurassic Park. You can go to our Facebook page, which you're probably watching on right now, and you can you can select who's going to win that, honestly. Yep. And it'll be a good time. Do we want in-depth stats really quick?
Go for it, man. Whatever you want to do, man.
Toy Story is 0 for 3. It has lost to 2 Steven Spielberg trilogies and Francis Ford Coppola's trilogy of The Godfather. Spider-Man is 0 for 1. Surprising, actually. I'm not going to lie. And John Wick is 1-0. Again, it won by 25 votes. I'm surprised it beat Spider-Man by such a leap. I think it amassed 61% of the votes or something like that, which was unexpected to say the least.
Yeah. My poor Spidey.
Poor Spidey. I know you were. I'm sorry, Paolo.
It's all right.
Sorry, Paolo.
I'll get over it.
Yeah, it's you know how you're gonna get over it, man. By our next segment. What the news?
Alrighty, what the news? This is a weird way of doing it because we're already an hour and some into the show and we're finally getting to the news, but I like it a little bit. Let's start off with DC fandom. So, as everyone knows, everyone who watches this show basically knows August 22nd is the big, DC movie studio, Warner Brothers, DC fandom craziness show, which is going to be 24 hours long. And we have a little more, we've been getting bits and pieces so far, a little crumbs have been getting dropped about what's going to go on there. And we do have a little bit of news because really it's just building hype for DC fandom, which we don't know exactly how we want to handle it for this show because we want to cover it. We want to talk about it. We want to dive right into it, but we're not quite sure how yet because it's so much. It's over 24 hours. It'll be hard to keep up, but we'll see.
We have a show that day.
Yeah, so that's going to be pretty interesting. So we're going to let you guys know as, time goes on what we ended up doing. But anyway, so DC, they've announced that over 300 guests will be joining us, the audience. It's completely free, by the way. You can just, log on to, I forget what. outlet, probably like Twitch, YouTube, and watch the whole DC fandom stream. What's up?
They say you need to go to dcfandom.com. Actually,
Okay.
That was the big thing. It's all, we were talking this morning. I was on with GW Palmector at HWWS Media Day, and we're saying that most of these online conventions are scattered about the internet, but CyberCon, which we were a part of, was one page. Everything was on the same place, and DC Fandom is the only other one that I know of that is all in the same spot. So it's going to be, and they have over, I think it says 100 plus hours of content over 24 hours.
It's going to be unreal. Yeah. I think that's what it says.
I think so.
But I will say, some of the guests that they do mention on here that they're shown, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I know he's been kind of teasing lately, Black Adam. We know it's coming in the next couple years. Robert Pattinson, the Batman, and Ezra Miller, the Flash. So, some big names, pretty exciting. I'm sure, and that's just kind of actors, guests coming in as hosts. I'm sure we'll still see more like filmmakers and all this stuff. So Thomas, you heard this news. You saw that there's going to be 300 special guests. DC Fandom, August 22nd. What are your thoughts?
I'm very, very excited for this. I've been excited for DC stuff. I'm always excited for comic book movie stuff, but I love DC and Marvel. I grew up with both cartoons and learning the way of the land. How I found out about all this was I saw The Rock's video that he posted, and it teases him inside of a tomb. And it was like, oh, and they're just calling him the Man in Black, which is just a sleek way to introduce Black Adam. But today, young David, this was released from Zack Snyder. That is Steppenwolf. Excuse me.
Looking a lot different than
looking very scary.
Yeah,
very scary. Totally different. It is a very exciting prospect that we're going to be getting such a different take on this. I mean, we already talked about, I think it was last week, they're releasing the length of the movie, the title, all of that good stuff, even a trailer on in DC Fandom. And, a lot of actors have been teasing various things for DC Fandom, including James Gunn, whose birthday was this week, and they released a video of cast members, saying, happy birthday and such like that. Yeah. He announced that he teased that there's probably going to be a trailer at DC Fandom. Yeah. And this looks to be, so I don't know what you were doing in 2014, David, but when Marvel had their phase 3 situation, I was in a class at Florida Tech, and I think right after I went to work and just nerded out wicked hard. But this feels like that. This feels like DC Fandom is going to be a much larger, grandiose version of Kevin Feige coming out on stage saying, "Oh yeah, Captain America 3 is going to be the Serpent Society," and then they go through all the movies, and then he goes, "Oh, by the way, I was kidding. It's Civil War," and you're like, "What?"
That was so crazy.
I definitely got in trouble in class. I was graduating, by the way, in like a few weeks, so I gave zero qualms about watching a video in class. And the only class I got a B in that semester, mind you. Would have had all A's, but I was it was a hard class. I ain't gonna lie. I got an 88. It was whatever. I graduated with a 3.0. That was good enough for me. But this DC Fandom feels exactly like that. Yeah. And the trailer, I should have queued up the trailer because, Eamon talked about, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, Superman with Christopher Reeves. That's how they teased this, was his theme song. And it's just like, yes, that is what it's supposed to be. And and I'm wondering if they did that, if they're gonna do something with Henry Cavill as Superman, and if they do something like that, are they gonna keep it the way they've been doing it, or are they gonna just take Henry Cavill and do a Richard Donner-esque version of Superman, where it's just It's Superman, you know? Like, are they going to go that
Yeah.
route, or are they going to keep it now down and goody? I feel like they won't, especially after this Justice League movie.
Yeah.
After Justice League and B, Zack Snyder's Justice League, I feel like Superman is at the point where now he will be all about the truth, justice, the American way, and like being the everyman hero that we need him to be on a moral level. What are your thoughts?
I have a few. The biggest thing for me is I'm just excited because I feel like we kind of have an idea. Like, we know Justice League news is coming. I'm excited for the stuff we don't know is coming. That is just gonna like blow our minds. Where it's like I see it, we're watching together or whatever. Like, we're texting and it's like, holy crap! Like, did you see that? Like, I'm just excited for that moment because that's the stuff that always hype, and you know it's coming. They wouldn't be having this crazy 24-hour event, and I think there is a part of me where it's like, it is going to be probably a lot of minutia. If it's that long, it's not just going to be big breaking news after big breaking news. It'll be a lot of hype and a lot of probably even. I mean, we got it with the little trailer of with the, like you said, the original Superman score, like some nostalgia, some just kind of just some DC hype being built. It's really for DC fans, not necessarily just for like a movie fan, but I think a lot of just DC fans will enjoy it the most because it'll probably have a lot of deep dive stuff and hype moments and nostalgia.
Yeah, all of the shows that are on TV right now, every single DC show is at this event. Right. Even the animated series, Harley Quinn, Titans, like all of them are going to be there. And I think they're bringing back, I think Krypton is involved somehow, the show we were talking about. And I might have come across the rumor, and this is this is the fattest grain of salt I've ever dropped on this show. But I think they mentioned, I might have read somewhere, a Smallville reunion is possible, like at this thing. And it's like, okay, like you are going all out for your fans, and it's about time.
Yeah. I mean, the hype is real, especially with all these movies getting set to come out. The thing that I want to see most is Man of Steel 2. Or whatever they call, like I want to, because there's been so much talk and whispers and rumors about Superman, and I mean, it was like a year ago or less than that where it's like Henry Cavill's out, he's not Superman anymore, but now we know he's back in, like he wants to be Superman. I feel like DC hasn't known what they want to do with him, but I hope behind closed doors during the last few months, they've been plotting what they're going to do with Superman, because it's Superman. Come on. Yeah. I'm a big Man of Steel guy. I enjoyed Man of Steel. I love Henry Cavill in the role. And I think right now, I saw a tweet, I forget who it was by, where it was just like, we need Superman now more than ever. Like, I don't want to have the grit. I don't want to have this DC grit. I want to have Superman. And it was showing these, screenshots of some comic panels where it's just Superman being Superman. And it was awesome to just kind of flip through them and be like, yes, like this is what we want to see on screen. Like, it's how he's just a genuinely good person where he doesn't have to be. He owes us nothing. I don't know. Yeah. I could go on and on, but I just really want to see Superman have them announce a Superman film. That would blow my mind. And just, I'm saying my expectations too high because the odds of it happening, I feel like, are kind of not great because they've already announced so many other movies. And if it even were to happen, it'd be like way down the road probably. But I really want it to happen. And that's just kind of my big kind of nerd hope wish I'm hoping for. So yeah, but super exciting. Even if it doesn't happen, I think this will be a great event. We'll have a lot to talk about after it. So much content, so many like little just nuggets of fun will come out of it. So
you know what we might also find out a little bit more about there?
Yeah.
Look at this
Suicide Squad game. So Rocksteady Studios, which is known for making Batman Arkham series, Batman Arkham Asylum, City, and Night. What is it? It's like WB Montreal made Batman Arkham Origins. And they're making they're supposed to be working on a new Batman game, which I've been waiting for them to come out with more stuff on. But nonetheless, this is kind of unrelated. They are now working on a Suicide Squad game, which has been pinned to me. There's been a leaked kind of, they announced the picture of it, and it's it's a Suicide Squad with the target on looks like Superman, but
Yes,
Superman looks
I'm about
a
to
little
add
evil
it here.
Sure. But I read a leaked kind of not synopsis, but like, yeah, there it is with Superman. And he looks a little evil. He doesn't look like regular Superman. If you like zoom in on his eyes, you guys can do that at home. But anyway, there has been like kind of the rumor around town of what this game's going to be is the Suicide Squad, like tracking down the Justice League to some degree. And I'm excited. And the reason I'm excited for this game, well, first of all, I just love like superhero video games to begin with, especially Rocksteady, because they made Arkham, and those are like the best, in my opinion, superhero video games. Like Batman Arkham is just the best, especially City. City is like such a good game. And I think they could really nail the tone of a Suicide Squad game just based off of how they did Arkham. So I'm really excited for this. I am mostly excited because it's Rocksteady. If it was another studio, I'd be like, we'll see. But because it's Rocksteady, I kind of know what I'm going to get, hopefully. So Thomas, what were your thoughts after you saw this?
I'm excited for this as well. I love the Batman games, and I've been following the rumors that they're going to be making a new DC game, that same company. And the fact that it is, when someone mentioned Suicide Squad, I was like, that's a game I didn't know I wanted, and I really hope they make that. And we're getting it, baby. Yeah. So I'm ready. I just saw the image now. I actually, it's the first time I'd seen it today because I didn't look at the article. You sent me the thing, and I was like, dope. That's cool as hell. And so now I'm like, oh snap, they're chasing the Justice League. Like, yeah, let me try and kill Batman. Like,
yeah. It could be a really cool concept. There is part of where it's like, I kind of want to play as the Justice League, but maybe that's how it works. We don't know how the game's going to be. This is such an early rumor for it. We have no idea what this game's even going to be. Is it going to be like an online multiplayer thing? Is it just going to be a campaign? It's a squad, so that kind of indicates that maybe it would be this kind of like what they're doing with the Avengers game coming out, where it is multiplayer. Like there's a campaign, but you can also like do battles and stuff online together. That would be rad if you could like team up and do battles with Suicide Squad.
Hard tangent really quick. Yep. Adamir Azari's been playing the Avengers game. He pre-ordered it, and so he's got the beta on PS4. Yeah. And he's so you and I were talking the other day. For those of you that don't know, Dave and I talk every day. We're basically married. So take that, Jasmine. No, we were talking about the game, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to buy Madden or Marvel's Avengers. And he's like, I'm going to buy Madden or 2K. And I'm like, that's fair. And I was like, I'll probably buy Madden because I know that I'll binge it for a couple weeks. And if NFL doesn't happen, then I won't even probably want Madden, or I'll need Madden. It's hard to tell which one I'll fall on. But he said that I need to buy this game ASAFP because it is because he and I played DC Universe Online RPG game basically for a while, and he still plays that game. And he kind of told me basically how he worded what he was saying, told me that it's exactly the game for me because of how big of a nerd I am for Marvel's Avengers. So I think you should pre-order it as well and start playing the beta and tell me what you think. You get Spider-Man, bro, you son of a birch.
Yeah, because I have a PS4, the superior console. And the thing is, Spider-Man is not going to come until like 2021. So that's also my thing. Like when I saw that news, I'm like, yeah, even less of a reason to like get it immediately. I would be more hype if it wasn't coming out like the day 2K comes out, because I kind of want both Madden and 2K, and it's like I can't buy 3 games. Like that's just crazy. I'm only probably gonna get one of those sports games immediately, so it's like a lot to contemplate. And I think I haven't beaten Fallen Order, so I think I want to make sure. Yeah, I haven't beaten Fallen Order, so
how far are you?
I don't know. I'm like, how many hours?
What planet are you on?
Oh man, I don't remember. It's been a while. Sorry. I'll have to I'll dive back in. Don't worry about it. It'll happen. But that's the thing. I want to beat that game properly, dive in, beat it. Just give me some time. I need to get, in my apartment with my PS4 and everything. But I want to be
is important.
I don't want to move into another kind of game like Marvel's Avengers when I know I'd probably just like a Madden or a 2K for me. Why are we even discussing this? It's just like something I would enjoy. Like I could just pop right into, enjoy. And Anyway, we're both excited for this Suicide Squad
Yes.
game. It is going to be fun.
And speaking of Marvel, Captain
Oh,
Marvel 2, baby.
you're killing it with the segues tonight.
Live.
Captain Marvel 2 has hired a new director for Captain Marvel 2. Nia DaCosta, hopefully I nailed that name, is now the first. She's going to be helming Captain Marvel 2. I'm excited about this because I think Captain Marvel 2, I liked Captain Marvel 1, but I would love to see a different vision for the character. With the character as it is, but with a different tone, different vision.
I agree.
So Nia DaCosta, I'm terrible with names. She is the first Black woman to helm a Marvel film, which is awesome news.
Yes.
So that's the big news going into it. But I also don't want to poop on.
Damn time.
Yeah, like that's awesome, and I'm excited. Like I just said, for the story of it. Like I am happy that Captain Marvel is not sticking with the same director. I forget actually who directed the first film.
It was a tandem director set. Yeah, I think Ryan Fleck was a name that was used potentially. Let me look that up for you. Keep talking.
No worries. I will say though, this is awesome news. It's cool to see that this news is actually coming out right now because of everything happening in the world. And Captain Marvel 2, I think, will actually begin filming, I want to say next year, or no, actually probably for a while, because I think that movie comes out 2023, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's 2022. 2022 is the year of like Thor, Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah, Captain Marvel 2 is like in
Black
July.
Panther, Captain Marvel 2, and yeah,
Right.
that's the heavy hitting year.
Yeah, so it will, they will be filming fairly soon in like a year or so. So coming up, pretty exciting. Thomas, what were your thoughts when you heard this news?
My thoughts were it's about damn time.
Yeah,
honestly, that was all I had in my mind. I was like, oh, okay, we got a director, about damn time. Oh, okay, it's a Black female. That's the first one. It's about damn time. Get it together, Marvel. Yeah. I'm very excited, and I don't know anything that or let me rephrase that sentence. I am unfamiliar with her work, Nia DaCosta.
Yeah, I want to check it out.
Yeah, same. I'm gonna go check out whatever she's worked on. Which, oh, come on, Hollywood Reporter, you're hitting me with an ad. I'm trying to talk here. Let's see. She helmed the neo-western called Little Woods, and she was in charge of the upcoming Candyman. I will not see Candyman. That's a fact. I'm okay. So that's very exciting to see that. I'll go check out that neo-western. I enjoyed neo-western, so I don't know what it is about like western-esque films. What is the damn Mandalorian? Holy shnikes. Don't know how I blanked on Mandalorian. I was thinking about too many things at once.
Mandalorian. Oh boy.
Yeah. Captain Mando. So the directors for Captain Marvel 1, it was Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. I only remembered Ryan Fleck because I remember that name is super weird. Okay. And I don't know why, but it's a weird name to me. Sorry, Ryan Fleck.
And I liked Captain Marvel 1. I mean, I think it's like it kind of gets pooped on more than I think it should. I enjoyed that movie.
It totally gets pooped on by sexist assholes.
I mean, I kind of see beyond just being maybe a sexist, which probably I'm sure some people are. Like they're just like, oh, it was boring or whatever. I kind of get it. Like there were some parts where, but I enjoyed at least the character. Like I like Brie Larson in the role. I bought it. I kind of bought into the story. And now the thing is with Captain Marvel, where we're heading with her is much more exciting than where we were with Captain Marvel 1, in my opinion. Like now
we needed forward. Exactly. We needed to learn her origins. So they treated Captain Marvel exactly like Captain America. The first movie, it's the first movie told out of sequential order. They had Iron Man, Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America set in the 40s.
Yeah.
The very next movie is an Avengers movie. Right? Yeah. Well, that's what they did with Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was set in the 90s. Fuck yeah. Edit that out at 136, David. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
You know, they went to the 90s, and that's probably why I loved it. Like, I grew up in the 90s and I enjoyed every little bit that they had, and I liked I enjoy Captain Marvel's character in the comics.
Yeah.
And in terms of getting an origin story, right, I feel like they did well getting that character, the character's mindset, Captain Marvel's mindset, you know. I feel like they really got Carol Danvers' mindset perfectly displayed on screen, in the same way that they got Captain America, Steve Rogers' mindset perfectly displayed on screen in the First Avenger. And everyone doesn't like the First Avenger. I still love the First Avenger. I think that he has the best I think that Captain America has the best trilogy of films that are Captain America at the top of the movie. Like, there's not one of them that sucks. Captain America 1 is just set in the 40s, and it's kind of my biggest gripe with it is his learning curve is hitting a montage, which really annoyed me, but okay, whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
that's one of my critiques of that movie too. I enjoy that film. I agree with the Captain America statement. I think that trilogy is the best, especially because I think Winter Soldier and Civil War are just awesome. Like, they're just top tier MCU movies.
I think the Winter Soldier is the best of them all. Like, Civil War is, to me, I forget Civil War is a Captain America film.
Right.
You know, I call it a
part of it. It's basically an Avengers film. I mean, that's kind of the problem with that movie. You're talking about just, Captain America, the character, this is his third movie in a trilogy. It's just moving along the Avengers story, really.
But if you do watch those 3 movies in a row, you know, you got Captain America, the First Avenger, then you have Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and then Captain America, Civil War. He goes from trying to be a soldier, becomes a sideshow act. Then he becomes a soldier like he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Then he finds out that everything he thought he knew about the government was a complete total lie, and now he trusts nobody. So then when you go to Civil War, he's already had some, you know, it doesn't mention it, you know, they've had issues in Age of Ultron, but they did have some issues in Age of Ultron. And because he already doesn't trust people, boom, the only person he does trust is Bucky. And so it's got a great story of losing Bucky, getting Bucky back. You know, it's, and even then, like, let's be real, I wouldn't trust Iron Man either. I'm being real, you know. He's a little too eclectic for, especially Captain America, and even Thor. Thor is just like, I could kill him, but what's the point?
Yeah. Team Iron Man. All right.
Yeah, and Captain Marvel is kind of similar. Her mindset is Captain America mixed with Thor, mixed with I guess a little bit of Iron Man. You know, she in and of herself is like the big 3 put together. Yeah. You know, it's she's like, whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
you guys stay here. I'll go kill Thanos.
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and I think, Captain Marvel 2 has so much to tell. I mean, and the thing is with that, like, we might even be in the past, but it could be in the past, you know, during this MCU run, because we don't know what she's fully been up to. It's a lot to catch up on. That movie could be either really good or really all over the place. And I really hope it ends up being really good, because it depends on what they do with the story. And I also, the problem is I kind of want it to be all over the place because I want to know everything that's been happening, but I also want it to be a concise, good story. So we're excited.
Yes.
Awesome. First Black woman to direct an MCU movie. All great news.
Yes. By the way, there are no more, since we're talking about Marvel really quick, there are no more Marvel movies on Netflix. They've all officially been taken off. And I believe on Ant-Man and Wasp. I actually think that Ant-Man and Wasp, I think it's on the 14th or the 21st that it goes to Disney Plus.
Speaking of Disney Plus.
I'm doing well today.
You really are. You're killing it. Mulan. This is our big news of the week, even though we're in our final home stretch here of the show.
This is a long one.
Disney has announced that the movie Mulan, which has been pushed from March to July to August to September, it's coming. It's coming out, but because of the world right now, in a unique way. So if you guys don't know, Mulan is obviously a remake of the original animated movie. It's a live action film, and it is now coming both in theaters and to be released on Disney Plus. What's the date? I'm having a hard time finding it. September
4th, September 1st. I don't honestly see a date.
I know what is happening. So
September 4th, it says.
September 4th. So on September,
and that's a Friday.
4th,
so yeah.
Yes. On September 4th, Mulan will be available. If you can access a theater safely, you can go to the theater and see Mulan. But Disney is also giving us, the consumers, the option, if you have Disney Plus, to pay an extra $30 to not just rent Mulan for the day, but to then own Mulan and have it on Disney Plus right then and there. So you can sit at home, don't have to go to a theater. It's a brand new movie that's supposed to be wide release. And now you can pay a premium price, I would argue, of $30 to have Mulan at home, on your couch, on your phone, immediately on September 4th. Thomas, are you going to buy Mulan on Disney Plus? And what were your thoughts when you saw this?
I don't know. I'm upset. I'm upset because I know for a fact I will not have a theater open near me. And I don't mind buying the damn movie, but like we spoke about last week, I was so hyped to see this war movie in the theater because it just, man, I'm upset. Will I be buying it on the Disney Plus? I have one major contingency. Special features. I'm only buying it if I get special features. And even then, I still might wait for it to hit on Vudu because it has to at some point. It has to go to normal VOD and digital or hard copy release. So it's got to at some point. So it's like, if I'm not going to get to see it in the theaters, I'd rather pay $20 for 4K and keep it on my Vudu account versus pay $30 for maybe 4K on my Disney Plus account. And let's be honest, like I'm already not a fan of having as many movies in Vudu as I do because, well, as soon as the internet gets fried, like they're gone forever. So I hate to be that guy, kids, but nothing lasts forever. So all it takes is humans to die and the satellite to go down, and I won't be here, but I'll still be pissed that my movies are gone forever. But I'm hopeful that it at least comes with special features because that is tantalizing. Like if I get to watch all the special features,
I know it's a big thing for you and a big thing for a lot of people. And that price is a premium for the timeliness of it. It's so you can get it right when it's supposed to release. It's not, this is you can get it on VOD later, but that's why it's $30. And it makes sense for the company because they need to compensate for what would have been a wide global theater release. They need to make that. So
they got to make up the $3.5 billion they lost because of Corona.
They have to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere. So this is a way to do it. Yeah. My real question is, which we have a lot of questions, and Disney themselves have mentioned that they don't have answers right now. But I believe it was in the original press release, they said that we will be having another call and talking about more in depth about the details of Mulan on Disney Plus. So like, is that $30 going to come down when it goes to every other place? So it's like, I can buy it for $30 now, but then like in 3 to 5 months, it'll only be $20 on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a way for them to like, because some titles are leaving Disney Plus, like they have to come off to go back onto other streaming services. Yeah. Is this going to be a thing where they're like, hey, you want it always to be on Disney Plus? Buy it for $10. Here's an extra thing, That's a potential option that this could do. What are your thoughts on this whole shenanigans?
So I'll give out kind of my initial thoughts, then lead into kind of a bigger question that this is kind of opening up with Disney Plus and Marvel and everything. I'm not going to buy Mulan. There's no way I buy this movie on Disney Plus for $30. I don't think it's worth it personally, but I also might, if I can get to a Regal here, because they're opening end of August, Regal. So, and they're doing it, 50% occupancy, all these certain things, all the safety stuff. So I personally feel comfortable. I mean, I go to Target every day and work, so it's not going to be like, to me, I don't think there's like that much of this like discrepancy between going and sitting in a theater, social distancing, and working my tail off every day. That's just me personally. Like, do what you need to do, and stay safe. I'm not saying not to, but I personally feel comfortable, and Tenet was supposed to be coming out soon after, so that could be a pretty good time to be going to the theater, maybe, and that would be great. And I'll keep you guys all stay tuned on this podcast, of course. Anyway, I will not be buying it. I hope I can see it in theaters when it comes out. Oh, sorry. And the thing is, I mean, this is a cool concept. It's creative. Like, it's all right. We want to get Mulan out. How are we going to do it? It is a movie that I think this is the thing that maybe is a bit strategic. Is this is a film that it looks gritty and it's rough and like a war movie, but it's also Mulan, and parents are going to be like, oh, new kids movie, click, $30, turn it on, sit down, kids, enjoy this. You know what I mean? Where it is like
sit down, shut up, and enjoy
it. Yeah, like it is a film where it's like parents and families might want to get it, which is a Disney Plus kind of. That's what Disney Plus is. It's a family streaming service for the most part. So that's smart. The thing is, and we have an article pulled up where it's an obvious question. It's, what does this mean for upcoming Disney-owned properties? Is this a sign of things to come? Is this how we're going to be approaching this new world we're living in post-COVID? Because it is what it is. And the problem is, we're going to find out in the next few months if theaters actually are opening up and movies like Mulan and Tenet are actually coming out in theaters, how well they perform. We get a feel for how many people are actually comfortable going out to the theater. And that's going to be a big deal. Exactly. Like us. But it's going to be a big deal because not everyone does a podcast every week about movies, and it cares about movies as much as we do and the theater experience. So it'll be really interesting to see how many people actually show up and if this is a sign of things to come. And the biggest question for us, for our fellow Marvel nerds out there, is what does this mean for Black Widow? Black Widow coming out November 22nd. I believe that's the date. And that's where it's set. That's where it was pushed back from May 2. It was pushed back, what seemed like far into the distant future. But November is going to come sooner than we think. And how will the world look by then? We don't know for sure, but it probably still won't be 100% great. And it probably won't be in a situation where we'll even be packing out theaters. So does Disney think about doing that? Do they get it to us? Do we get the movie earlier potentially because of this, or other movies where it's like, hey, if we're going to do this, plan anyway, might as well just drop it sooner? I doubt that, but maybe it'll be an option. And I mean, honestly, I don't want to go see it in a theater for Black Widow, but if it was my only option to buy it on Disney Plus, I would, like I'd have to. There's no way I'd pay like $50 to get it. Like they would. Honestly,
that's aggressive, David. Mister, I'm only gonna buy one game. I'll pay $50 for Black Widow.
Games are $60. Yep.
I know. I didn't have anything from there. I was just, giving you some shirt.
So Thomas, what do you think about this whole possible new generation of how we consume movies and Black Widow?
I am very intrigued about where we are, because for about the last 30 years, filmmakers are like, this is the death of cinema. And this is the first time where they might actually be right.
Right.
Like drive-in theaters have made a comeback because of Corona. I've yet to find one in the damn Panhandle. So please, I have a new car with AC. Please, for the love of God, open one up so I can listen to some Jaws and surround sound and piss my pants while I'm watching movie in my car. Which, by the way, is very fun. I've done road trips with a friend, and we put Star Wars on my iPad, and he watched it while I listened to it while driving for 8 or 9 hours to and from Melbourne, bro. Like,
that's smart.
It changes the experience of the movie when you are in the surround sound. Like it's amazing. So that would be, I want to go see Black Widow in theaters. I want to see Mulan in theaters. I don't know if I'll be able to. if they drop Black Widow, I will have to pay $30
Yeah.
because I'm excited for Mulan, but I'm addicted to Marvel. Like,
Exactly.
I need my drugs, man. I'm jonesing. Okay. Like, Endgame was a long time ago, and like we're in the Endgame now, so I need Black Widow to pull me back to the past.
Far From Home was a long time ago.
Far from Home. I forgot that even existed. Holy shnikes, dude. Yeah, Far From Home was 5 ever ago, bro. But speaking about whether or not it is potentially going to happen, this tweet here is from somebody who's apparently in the know. It says there's a reminder that theaters take a decent portion of sales revenue from the studio's PVOD through Amazon/iTunes can give the studios about 80% revenue. This will give Disney 100% revenue, 100% of user data, 100% control. That's everything. And that's for Mulan. She also said, oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, bye. There it is. From a Disney Plus source, in reply to Chapek's comments on Mulan being a one-time thing, this source said that we've put in enough work that it's not a one-off.
Yeah.
So that's going to be very important as we move forward.
Yeah.
With Black Widow and all the other Disney movies that are to come. I think they're mentioning, it's rumored that there's another Disney movie that's supposed to come out between Mulan and Black Widow, and it's like they're thinking that it's probably going to go to the Disney Plus.
Yeah, I mean, right now it does make some sense to be like, hey, we're going to open in theaters that allow it, but we're also going to let you guys that can't get to theaters, don't want to, aren't available to, don't feel safe. You can, pay this price and watch it at home. It makes logical sense just to be like, because things are opening up, there are places where it can be done safely that people feel comfortable. So, hey, why not release the movie there, let them go watch, but then also not just forget about everyone sitting at home still. Say, hey, you can pay this price, own it now. Like, you can watch as many times over as you want. Enjoy. Honestly, if Black Widow came out, like if Black Widow did this exact format, I would do both. I would buy it and I'd go see it in theaters. How would you not? Because why would you not just buy it right then?
Yeah. It's like, okay, I can go see it in theaters, and best of all, I can go home and watch it again.
And just rewatch the post-credit scene 100 times.
Yeah.
There's going to be one.
Yeah, when they introduce the Thunderbolts. I'm dying on this hill, bro. I'm dying on this hill.
I mean, we're 19 episodes in since episode 3. That's been the
yeah, I think it was episode 3.
But yeah, anyway.
Was it? No, I think it was in one of our first news stories, and I mentioned I think the Thunderbolts are coming. You know what? If any fan out there wants to go back to episode 1 and listen and tell us, please do, because I can tell you who will not be doing that. This guy. Although I do listen to our podcast sometimes, it'll come on when I get in my car in the morning.
Yeah,
because it'll tap into podcast, and it always plays ours because I have so few podcasts that I actually fully listen to.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'll listen and I catch up on things, and I'm like, oh, that was pretty funny what we did there, here and there. But I don't listen fully intently.
Yeah. Who does?
Who does? I don't know. I don't even think my mom is paying attention right now. That brings us to everybody's favorite segment of the day, closing segment. I'm sorry, I had nothing there.
It's my favorite segment today. I gotta be up soon.
I feel you, bro. I'm ready to be done. Hopefully, I'm waiting on someone to message me back because we're supposed to have plans tomorrow, but I don't know if that's happening because I've lost track of what day we're on.
Tomorrow is Sunday Fun Day.
There you go. So yeah, who knows if that's happening. David, where can everyone find you on the social medias?
Yeah, so you guys can find me at my name, David Thompson, on Facebook, at David J. Thompson on TikTok and Instagram, and David Thompson with 2 A's in the David on Twitter. Thomas, how about you?
You can find me at Thomas Carter Rochester -actor on Facebook, at Thor Son of Dale on the TikTok, which is going to be banned soon. So rip.
Yeah, Get it while you can.
Get those 3 Bat Thor videos while you can. On Instagram, it's at Thomas Carter Rochester, all one word, no hyphens, no spaces. And on Twitter, it is at TC Rochester Act. That is TC Rochester ACT. And of course, you can find me and Thor, son of Dale, on the Life of Thor YouTube channel. Just look for Thor Watches the Mandalorian. Big, important thing that I don't think we actually even talked about. October 7th is the rumored release date for oh my God, Mandalorian. It's rumored to be October 7th. I don't know if that's happening. It's a Wednesday, kind of weird. But realistically, it's anywhere from the 2nd to the 16th is when they're probably going to release it. So getting hype. If you want to catch up on The Mandalorian Season 1, what happens, go to Life of Thor. Thor Watches the Mandalorian. Season 1 is now available, and I can guarantee you I'm going to talk about stuff that I recorded earlier in the year that we talked about on this podcast because I was paying attention, and I will guarantee you I will be dead when it comes time to start this new season because I will be doing this show weekly, that show weekly. I'm going to have no free time. So it's going to be a wild, wild time. You can watch all of our episodes of of Lights Thunder Action here on Facebook at Lights Thunder Action Show, or on our YouTube channel, on YouTube at the HWWS WebTV YouTube channel. We're a family. We have a lot of things going on. You can also follow us on Twitter at LTA Podcasting.
Yep.
And that leads us to promotions. David, what do you got to promote this week?
Yeah, so I have another podcast called Double Down Debates. You guys can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just posted an episode this past yesterday, I guess, talking about the NBA. So if you guys are into sports, go check that out, subscribe, leave a like, all that good stuff. Double Down Debates, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thomas, also, should we plug Monday night?
How'd you know? So if you were paying attention earlier in the show, Thwip, Spider Thwip was my tease, and then David flat out said we were doing it in the interview, but it's okay. It slid through real subtly. Monday, August 10th. That is like 2 days away, bro.
Yes, sir.
At 7 p.m. Eastern, David Thompson and myself from Lights Thunder Action, Josh Bauer from JBauerArt and Back Talk with Bauer, Ryan Permison from Nerd Culture. He's actually He's watching it right now for the first time.
Oh,
like I told him, I was like, hey, ask anyone from Nerd Culture if they want to be in it. And he's like, oh, okay, I will. And I was like, this is also my subtle nudge to tell you to watch it. And so he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I might join in. So I strong-armed him into joining us by putting him on the photo and sending it to him. Right. And of course, Pop, GW Pomictor, Sage, and Deanna from Hanging with Web Show will be joining us as well. It's going to be a packed screen, and we have some very fun little extra graphics to bring in. You know, somebody told me about fair usage of how much of a movie you can play. Yep. So be prepared for little snippets of the movie as we go along. It'll be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, so get ready
here on our Facebook.
Netflix ready.
Get your Netflix ready. Yeah, get your Netflix ready. I own it, so I'm not worried about it at all.
Yeah.
Get right here on our Facebook page, Lights Thunder Action Show, as well as on YouTube at the HWWS WebTV. I'm a big fan of this freaking graphic, dude. I don't want to see my face ever again. But unfortunately, I have to put my face back on here. And my last thing, of course, to promote is, I don't know why I said of course. I totally don't even have my graphic ready. Oh, I'm so Harlecon next week. It's important to note because we will not be doing our show on Saturday.
Yeah.
Ironically, we're both busy on the 14th and 15th. So on the 16th, we'll be going through Star Wars. That's next week, ladies and gentlemen. Star Wars is next week.
Woo.
Yo, let's go, boy.
No more Ferris.
But on Saturday, August 15th, from 11:30 a.m. to like midnight, I think it is now, Harlecon will be live via Zoom. You can catch me there. for Star Wars. I'll be involved in a bunch of different panels. I'm judging one for the nerd culture. I am a part of Hello There, a Star Wars panel, as well as Bat, a What We Do in the Shadows panel, and a couple other things. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Tune in. It'll be a crazy day for me, but I would try and tune in.
Yes, I was hoping to get David on there, but he's moving, so moving is very important, and I will be moving within the next 3 weeks. So there's that too.
Yeah. But we'll be here the 16th.
We'll be here the 16th, baby.
And before that, the 10th, this Monday, come back. Yes. It's on. We're going to be streaming it on this Facebook page, and then HW. Sounds good.
Correct. And oh no, what did I just do? Yes, on our usual locations for our streaming is where we will be for the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse watch along, and it is the greatest comic book movie ever made, and I will die on that hill. It is. I asked that question because I wanted to know what they thought, because they mentioned Spider-Verse.
Cool. Yeah,
and it's my number one. It is a comic book come to life, and oh my god, I got nothing. I can't say anything more. It's just so good.
Before we go, big shout out to Eamon Hill and oh my gosh, I'm blanking
Rodney,
on
Fyke, and Tina.
Yeah, Rodney's last
name. From Hazzum Productions for joining us today and helping get this set up. Again, please go support the Roadkill Rampage Kickstarter. Again, here is the cover of the first issue, and as they said, they're working on 2 and 3, and it sounds like 4 is in production as well.
They seem like they're in a really good groove and having a great time, so go support them. Check out, if you didn't check out the interview at the beginning of this podcast, go check that out. It was awesome to have them on. Super fun interview, learned a lot, so a lot of fun.
Yes, and thank you all for joining us.
Yes,
we appreciate you, we love you. This has been episode 19 of Lights, Thunder, Action.
Bye.